Hi everybody, Mick here from Trafford. Welcome to another episode of Inside HR. Today I am super lucky to be joined by Róża Szafranek. I practice this one a lot, so I hope I get it right. And Róża is the founder of HR Hint. Róża, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks a lot. It's great to be here with you. So thanks for the invitation very much.
I really appreciate you spending the time today. Róża, I know that you obviously have HR Hints, which is great. I know that you have a couple of other initiatives going on. Just before we get started, would you mind sharing with the viewers what is HR Hints and, why they should check it out after the video?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so starting with HR Hints, it's like the consulting company, boutique consulting company, and we are helping startups and tech companies, especially tech companies which are in the intensive stage of rising, of development and building the team, just helping being better in leadership and being better in recruitment, hiring people and taking care of them. So in general, that's what we do. And other things, you've mentioned, according to the podcast is in Polish, so I will not translate the title. If it's okay, it's like Ludzie z pracy, which means like people from work. And that's the podcast which I'm hosting, and we are talking about mechanisms and all these strange things we sometimes don't understand, but which are happening between people at work. And because we are assuming that we are spending at work so much time that it's really worth to understand it, what's going on, what's behind, what's in psychological background here. And the third pillar of my professional life is the online course. And this, I think that today when we are talking, it's like very special day because it's like first anniversary. We've launched, yes, that I didn't think about it previously, but yeah, that just came to my mind like a few hours ago. That we've launched a year ago, and in these days it was the first online course about recruitment in IT in Polish. So that's like more than 12 hours of online education. We wanted to share the knowledge. We wanted to keep the high level of technical recruitment. We know that a lot of people struggle with it. And also that's why we organize the monthly webinars and lives, just to, share the knowledge and do exchange experience. We didn't even thought about that how much it will be needed in these pandemic times, which were like pretty challenging for recruiters and for HR. So yeah, I think that the community and building the community around, it's not about only the product, but around also supporting each other. It's like super important in this area. So that's why we do that.
Perfect. And I mean, yeah, we talked about this before. I'm converted. I'm, team HR now. I'm team, HR priority. But I definitely remember how it was not to be. So I know there is a lot of people out there that are learning on the fly. Even seasoned HR professionals, like you said, this is something we've never been through before. So I'm guessing that it's such a valuable piece of information, piece of education and community. So we'll definitely drop the links in the comments afterwards so people can check it out. But Róża, I value your time. We're going to try to keep this to our lovely 20-minute limit, which we always break, but let's try our best. And I have a first question, which is, you are specializing in, HR consultancy, HR help for startups. Now, I know that there are a lot of consultants out there that are helping HR for Fortune 500 companies, for large corporations and organizations. What drew you towards the startup world? Was it that they have a specific problem or that they are not really taken care of? Why HR for startups?
I think startups are like super challenging for HR. Because on one hand, it's like very high time dynamic. So everything happens very quickly, as you probably know from your experience. So
Sure.
a lot of things are going on. On the other hand, how the way how you match people with the organization is absolutely crucial, because for example, in US startups, even people call the numbers of employees, like I was the first one, he was the fifth one, he was the 10th, 15th, etc. In Poland, we don't have it yet, but I think it will come with in some time. But it's super crucial to have this first 50 people like absolutely core of the business. And it's really hard to find these people, not because of the fact that in general recruitment is difficult and it's hard to find good people, but it's a strange mix of ownership, responsibility, but also having that kind of skill which helps you like to make one step back when it's needed. Because sometimes we are having a problem with having stars in startups, so we have to avoid hiring such people, or we have to hiring them, lead them in the right way. So there are a lot of things because of the fact that founders in startups are very close to people. And on the other hand, we are supporting that communication, and we think like, okay, what is the problem? Like 15 people, what's difficult about communication in such situations? A lot of difficulties, just to have the right border, the right balance between good leadership and having like good relations, being healthy communications, not toxic one, and also not too close one, because it's always quite easy to, you know, to push that border and to become friends with your employees, which is also a mistake. A lot of startups make that mistake. So yeah, and other types of problems, I can, you know, talk about startup HR problems for much longer than 20 minutes. So the last thing I would like to say here is that it's the fact that startups usually don't pay very well. Of course, sometimes they can offer you the options, or being partially owner of the company, but not very often. So you don't get so good salary as you get in a corporation, for example. So very often made mistake is also hiring very junior people, and hiring people just for, you know, just for intuitive instinct. Like, okay, this person is easygoing and open and funny, so this person will be great HR person. And it's not about that. It's not about, you know, being funny, you know, having great time with coffee, etc. And a lot of companies make that mistakes. For example, when I get into the startup and I'm seeing like one HR person, one recruiter, and it's not that they are bad, but they are just wrong people in that place. And no one sees that. They see that someone's not working, but they don't know exactly what's going on. So that's the short list of HR things in startups, which is like super challenging. And yeah, the challenge is the main thing at work. So that's why HR in startups.
No, it makes sense now that you've said it. And as you were saying everything, I was going in my memory thinking, yeah, maybe we did that. Yeah, maybe we did that in my past. So
like a checklist. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can, the great thing is I can probably, maybe I can approach this from the other side of the funnel, which you probably know very well because they're your clients as well, which is, you know, there is this perception that like, why do you need a recruiter if you are hiring 10 people a year or even 5 people a year? Or why do you need HR assistants when there's only 20 people in the company? But I've come to realize that when you actually have only 20 people in the company, if you have one bad fit or one negative emotion person, that's a big part of your team. That's 5% of your company pulling in a different direction, right? So it's almost more important than ever. But in your experience, you know, like when is a good time for a startup to start thinking about HR? Is it day one? Is it day, you know, is it after employee number 2? Is there a sweet spot for anyone who should be like, this is when we find that we can stop you having those mistakes or those problems?
I think that when we are talking about like classical path of startup development, the very common moment is after the first round of financing. So it depends, of course, is it a round A or is it like a seed round sometimes?
Yeah.
But in general, I rather count in people than
Yep.
in like days of
Yeah.
existing. It's like usually it's like from 11 to 15.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when you are hiring HR person, usually to grow the team. So it's great to have a recruitment person, but also with HR experience. So that type of mix, it's like super wanted currently. Of course, on the other hand, you can have a good HR person, but also hiring, for example, recruitment agencies.
Yep.
But our Polish experiences with hiring recruitment agencies are quite bad. And that's what we are trying to rename in HR Hints, just to show that it's not about having HR person on payroll. So not
Yep.
like full time forever for next 5 years. Because so far, thinking of funders and managers is exactly like that. So we can outsource IT, for example. We can have interim front-end team, interim technical team, but it's not about, but having like HR person interim, it's like weird. This is the part
Yep.
of the culture, so we need this person for full time. Okay, I agree. But on the other hand, it's really good to have this person on full time, but in an interim role. So like for half a year or for a year, just to change even the mindset of this person, not to destroy the motivation of this person, because of the
Yep.
fact that the dynamic of the work in HR, it's like typically borderline one, that
Yep.
sometimes it is like super intensive, but sometimes it's like doing nothing, not so intensive. So you are like doing, cleaning databases and all these things. And just to have not the highest track, not the highest speed always, because it's not possible, but to have that motivation that after your year, for example, or after your 6 months, another person will come and another person will review what you are doing. And just also to have the feedback is super important here. Like no one is making me no one is ideal, and only people who are not doing nothing and don't make mistakes. So just to even have the third eye or even the second eye, which will
Yep.
look at you and see like, okay, I see that mechanisms, I see that you are part of it, but you even don't notice that because you are in the middle of that. So it's absolutely worth it to, and I think that we need like around 2 years, maybe 3, I hope to change the Polish startup mindset that HR interim people are the best solution. So that's the model we believe in, and I think that it's the time thing just to change the thinking.
Okay, perfect. I think, I again, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think that startups, you can go into a startup at the beginning of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, that can be an unrecognizable company, right? I mean, this is the whole emphasis of startups, that startups pivot, they change what they do, they change their mentality, they change, for example, like you said, a startup before an investor and after investor is a very different company as well. Especially in HR, when you talk about things like pressure being increased to deliver results, to be scrutinized, I guess more than ever, it's good to always keep checking back on the processes and make sure that people are happy. But what I want to ask Rosa, if I can, again, kind of coming back to that, because I think that this is something that I never realized until I moved into the space, which is, what are the core, when you talk to a potential founder, and I think you're probably very, very good at this already, but you are obviously saying, okay, I want you to invest this much money in my company and we are going to help you. Are you able to talk to them about the return? Are they asking about like the return on their investment? Like what is their kind of, is there any sweet spot where they go, yeah, you're right, we should use you? Like, what are they afraid of? What's the pain that you solve?
Yeah, got it. I'm smiling because I'm pretty bad at sales. I'm hopeless. I don't like it, and I don't do that.
Okay.
And but my one of my best clients is saying that I'm really good at it, and the fact that I sold it to them And to her especially, because the CEO is the girl. She said like, okay, the fact that you've sold it to me on a conference with a totally cold contact, it's like a huge success. And I was like,
Sure.
oh my God, no, it was a horrible moment. Yeah, I'm not good at it. But the thing which I really address is the one concrete exact problem. So I say like, okay, we are having a few areas of expertise. We are experts in recruitment. We are experts in communication. We are experts in leadership support. So we can help with this, and this. And usually they say like, yeah, another recruitment agency. And I say like, okay, I understand that you don't have any problems with people. Yeah, so everything is good in communication, and that's the moment when they say like, okay. and usually it's like the one case study or one like case study. So they are asking, okay, we are having 3 people who are hating each other, and they are, for example, in mid-level management, and they are describing the situation, and it's like, crucial 5 minutes or even 10 minutes. And I say like, okay, these mechanisms look like this, and this, and we can do this, and this, and possible scenarios are this, and this. And they say like, okay, let's do that. So that's the first thing. But I think that the main blocker here, it's like the most difficult thing is that people think that people are ashamed that they are having such problems, and they are thinking like, hiring an CFO, for example, hiring CTO is like an obvious thing. Yeah, you need such person. But when you are hiring HR person, it's like, okay, am I problematic founder? Am I having the toxic company? Is it abnormal? So that kind of problems, and I think it's quite still, unfortunately, it's typical for our region because of the fact that I'm having psychological background, and I know that it's still a problem to go, for example, for the therapy. And it's quite similar thing. And some funders, for example, are talking to me directly, that they say like, okay, can we like keep it in secret that we are working together, like working, for example, not with whole organization, but just I don't like this word, but I will use it, coaching, like working on the leadership skills, leadership muscles. And they say like, okay, can we keep it in secret? And it's like, sure, of course, but it's not, but it's also part of the way to make it well known and widely known, because it's typical problem. So it's not like a shaming one, this weird one, the thing you should hide anyway. So I think this is the main blocker.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that again, my experience, especially when we're talking about Americans or North Americans, is they wear their failures on their sleeve. It's like I created 2 startups, they didn't work. I created the 3rd one, and here I am. And the same way that I was also kind of I would say British people. I'm going to represent the entire country right now. We are also pretty withdrawn with stuff like that. We don't talk about therapy or needing help. Where again, my American friends will be very open about it, like, oh, I can't do a meeting on Tuesday, I'm seeing my therapist, kind of thing. So I think it's I think it's a really valid point. And I think if a CEO or a founder can show that openness, it probably transgresses through the company, and everyone else probably appreciates potentially that little bit of vulnerability. But I guess, so let's say you get inside the company, you're taken on board, and is there any common, like, I guess that obviously I'm sure you treat every client, every startup differently, and they all have their own unique problems and unique things, but do you ever see any commonality? Is there something that most startups are not doing correctly, that, for example, any startup founder that watching this today, they might go, yeah, we have that problem? Like, what's common? I know we talked about some of the issues that startups have, but I'm really interested in the communication one, for example, because I know that having town hall meetings or all hands or all ears, they're cool. We try, but I don't genuinely know if they are truly effective or not. We are just trying our best. But
Mhm.
what are the common problems that you kind of first address when you join or you start working with a company?
Yeah. I think that there are there are a few which are pretty repeatable, and
Yep.
I think that the first one is the problem with talking about expectations. So it's like assuming that everyone knows that we are in such a cool company, that we
Hmm.
know that we are having like big goals and doing great things. No,
Hmm.
people don't know that.
Yeah.
So like when, for example, after like a week or two of someone's bad performance, people are founders or managers are saying like, okay, he sucks or she sucks. No, it
Hmm.
will not work. Oh my God. And it's like, okay, does this person know about that? Oh, come on, it's obvious. It's
Hmm. Hmm.
not. So
Yep.
this is the thing, the communication about expectations. And I think that the second challenge is that the problem with startups that on the beginning you are hiring people who are rather juniors because you don't have a lot of money, or
Yep.
they are experts in one area, but they really need to develop to grow to the role. And this is the fact that some people are growing with the company, and that's a great moment, but also there are a lot of people who are not growing with the company. And
Hmm.
that's the problem, that sometimes funders are not able to call the problem what is it. So they are saying like, okay, but this person was with us from the beginning, and this person helped us a lot at the beginning. So that kind of sentiment, which is super demotivating to other people in the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
See that this person maybe that this is the person who we can rescue, because maybe this person is burned out and we can help. And usually it is the situation that we are able to help, but sometimes not. Sometimes this person is like criticizing the company and doesn't like the level, the stage where the company is now. Like for
Hmm.
example, I had so many situations after like round A or round B even, that
Hmm.
people who were from the beginning were really great, but on very similar jobs, very similar positions, we had people who were totally out of that company mentally,
Yep.
and founders
Yep.
were not able to admit it because they were like, oh no, this person is so crucial for us, was from the beginning like 3 or 5 years ago. So
Yep.
that's quite common problem. And I think that yeah, these are the main repeatable things. And also yeah, the third thing is like the rush. So the rush, according to okay, today this person is having the last day of the contract. Okay,
Hmm.
so what are we doing? Okay, so
Yeah.
let's have performance review. Do you have any indicators? No. Okay, do you have any OKRs? No. So okay, let's write it. Okay, so like, no, we don't do it in one day. No, stop. Just talk to this person, tell them that they are staying and we want to have another contract, but don't do all these formal things in one day. So I think that's the quite
I'm
common thing.
I'm laughing because I know this process from a manager point of view, and you know, it's so true. Um, I have a really good question because I mean, we've never had this angle before, and so I think that funding is such an important now. Like I see HR and funding as hand in hand because it's so funny for me because when if I know a company that gets funded or it's mostly like Series A, maybe not seed money, but Series A or Series B, or they merge with another company, I am that guy now that where I'm like, they are going to churn people in the next 2 months. Like, just wait and watch. Like, people are going to leave because the culture will change, or they will feel like that it was a bad mistake. But then I look at that process and I think founders and owners of companies are on the super opposite emotional scale. They finally got funding, they finally can breathe, they can pay the bills. And I wonder if those two things are connected, that founders get so caught up in the funding process that employees feel so disconnected from it. Like have you ever experienced anything like that? Is funding and employee satisfaction connected, in your opinion, from your experience?
Yeah, it is totally. It is totally, especially that moment is crucial before getting funding, because this is the moment when funders are in totally different world. So they are. It's. I don't want to say that it's about promising.
Sure.
Big things, but also that's the part of it. So big plans, huge plans, like, we are the unicorn, we are building the next Google, and we are like, building Silicon Valley, and we are this in the center of it. And after that, after these conversations, you are coming to your usual gray, normal, boring people, and you are like, you're like person who is
Sure.
taking drugs and is out of drugs, like, give me more excitement. And there is super significant change in behavior, like that people are treated like, okay, we are not interesting enough, we have our regular updates, and funders didn't deliver, for example, because they don't appear on the meetings, they forgot about it, they don't send updates, they stop organizing this all hands or town halls you've mentioned. So yeah, that's the most difficult part. And after that, I think that in our startup ecosystem is more rare and rare thing, that after investors is coming, and the company of investor is on board, sometimes the culture is changing because of the fact that investor is very, very strong according to expectations and all these things. But now I'm also working with three investors, and I know that they understand how big change it is, and these investors who are really self-aware, they don't do that, and they are rather coaching funders and helping funders, but not getting into the company. So it really depends on investor and his culture.
I like, from my humble experience, or when I sometimes talk to some founders, and I think sometimes the mistake that they potentially make is they think that their team or their employees get the same amount of excitement from being funded as they did.
Oh yeah.
And I think that they just believe like that like employees are so happy that the company is doing well, which I think genuinely are. But what I think sometimes happens, or maybe founders can think about this, that the next day they go to work and nothing changed, right? Probably even it got a little bit harder. Maybe there's new targets, there's new goals to predict, but they didn't feel, I think a lot of the times I don't see founders do enough to kind of improve the working situation post-funding that directly affects employees. Now, I'm not saying they should go around and give every employee $1,000 and say, that's for you, that's for you, that's for you. But ultimately, it's a big hype, and the next day you go to work and you don't see the difference, right? And I don't know if there's a right way to do that. I don't know if there's a right way to kind of carry your team on that kind of exciting journey and make them feel it. But I think sometimes that teams they don't feel the benefit as much as founders think they do.
I think that's okay. I think that's okay, that it's just, I think it's about communication also, about communicating to people in a right way, that, okay, your job is doing, I don't know, Facebook ads, your job is doing, I don't know, generating leads and doing SDR job. And my job as a founder is spending time on pitching and raising another portion of money. So like, I think that kind of balance and that kind of understanding, and not get into the trap, because it's quite common trap for funders, that they, from that moment, they count money, they count time, and they sometimes start to treat people as a resource. So it's visible sometimes. So they say like, okay, let's change this person. So that's somehow understandable, because they operate like, yeah, people are kind of research when you are looking at Excel and talking to a CFO and investor, but it's not possible to show the people and to, you know, have it like shown widely in the organization, because it's the killer.
I mean, I thought, like, you know, just I didn't have a lot of experience in this, but my personal experience in this was very good. I mean, when Brand24, my former employee, they went to the stock market and we went public, you know, Michał and Piotr, the founders, they invited every team member to the stock exchange itself. You know, there was a party, there was an integration. We felt like a celebration. They even gave everybody like a small plaque or award that says like, you were in Brand24 the day we went public. And it felt like a big deal to me. It felt like, you know, it that little step of not just hearing about, but you literally technically felt the funding kind of thing. So I've got really one last question, and I'm going to really flip this to the other end of the user experience or the employee life. We once, Brand24, we had a consultant from HR, and we were about 40 people. And we were talking about what we've done over the last 3 or 4 years. And this person asked us, what is our employee churn? And we said, you know, it's great. In the last 4 years, we only like lost 2 people, but we grew. And this person actually said that 2 people is too small. Maybe you are being too nice. Maybe you're too friendly with your team. Do you think there is such a thing as too small employee turnover? Like their approach, this consultant's approach was that maybe maybe you're just not pushing everybody in the right way, or you've hired little people that are not ambitious enough, because it wasn't like everyone was getting promoted every 5 minutes. There was just people that were genuinely in their role. So it was we were so shocked when they said, this is not a good thing. You know, what's your opinion on that? Because it's always stuck in my mind ever since that day.
Got it. I think that I know the rule for the source of the type of thinking, because in HR, like non-startup, non-tech, typically HR world, we are used to say that it's good to have rotation on 8 up to 10%.
Okay.
So but it's like an old rule, which is like when you are looking for the background of it or the history of it, there are not so many facts and research behind it.
Sure.
Because, you know, I'm having like quite scientific approach, because I'm
sure.
on my PhD way, so I'm checking these things, and I don't believe in such numbers, because of the fact that if you can say things like that. You can say things to founder like, you cannot fire people. You are having trouble with firing weak people, or people who are burned out, people who are hating the company. And that's the problem. But when you are looking just at numbers and saying you are not firing enough people, it's not the answer.
Sure.
It's like, you know, it's like saying, of course, like when we are defining how the good performing team looks like. So of course we know that it will be great to have the leader, the senior, the mid, and the junior there. But does it mean that if the team doesn't have a senior but has 2 mids or 2 juniors, is it weak team? It's not. So it's like believing in numbers in that area is quite risky, I think.
I agree. And I think, if there was numbers behind it, i.e., look, there is this person that missed their target 9 months out of 12 last year, you might have a problem with conflict. But like, this was more approached in the fact of it should be higher without the mathematical or without the content. So it might be a little bit old school approach potentially. I think I understand the concept behind it, but there's such a good chance that you could be wrong. Yeah, you shouldn't just go firing people to make yourself feel better as a CEO, that you're kind of, you know. So Rosa, last question. I already said last question, but this one came to mind, and I think,
because I've just noticed that it's almost dark on my side, because I'm looking at you and I have to turn on the lights.
Sure thing. Oh, perfect.
Sorry.
Perfect. It sets the perfect scene for the last question. It might be a really difficult one, but it came to my mind when we were talking. You're a founder of a startup. You want to hire a mid to high level person. You can't match their salary on the market. What can you do? Should you not aim for those people? Like you said, should you do the things that we've been doing typically, which is hiring juniors, like lower expectation kind of people? Or do you know of any really smart ways to kind of convince or show people the values of working in a startup if it's not financial?
Sure, sure. Basically, in such situations, you can do two things. One thing is like hiring more junior people, but only if you have a coach for that person. So
Okay.
if you can hire a consultant, for example, so like spend once or twice like bigger amount of money just to coach that person and to show the way, and you can use the potential of this junior person just to, you know, follow the well-known way, and to, yeah, just to make sure that this person will do the job, because you don't know it as a founder and you are not
Sure.
able to lead that person. But on the other hand, when you really want to when you don't want to lose time, for because it's always the loss of time, when you are hiring the junior person and high risk that this person will not perform good enough.
Sure.
And so the second option, which I recommend in such situation, is like hiring that person like very senior, and give that person or a very high bonus for
Yeah.
reaching the goal. So it's not about giving like, okay, a monthly salary on high level, giving very high bonus, and it's sometimes part of, I don't know, the investment, or I don't know, other external funding
Sure.
you can get, or just to give options. So
Yeah.
options, part of company, ESOPs, you can call it whatever you want, but
Yep.
yeah, giving the part of the company. And it's for American startups, it's like super typical
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
In Poland, it's still very rare. It's usually like for management, for like 3-4 crucial people in the company. But
Sure.
I think that's enough. That's enough when you are when you want to hire a star from the market, and you really need that knowledge, and you are sure that it will be the great match. Um, it's perfect option to share the company, because
Yep.
really sometimes these 3-4 pillars, these people, you having the knowledge you don't have as a founder, it's like, you know, win or lose of your business. So
Yeah.
absolutely worth it.
Very true. Rosa, we went over time. I really don't care. I thought it was amazing. I think it was super valuable, but I will wrap it up here. And I would like to say, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much. It was really valuable. I love looking at it from a startup perspective. And the second thing I would like to ask, if someone was going to get in touch with you, they wanted to ask you some questions, where is the best place to find you?
I think the LinkedIn is the
Yeah.
first thing. My name and surname are quite funny and a little bit unique, so I'm the only person with that name on LinkedIn. Or our website is a great place. It's hrhints.io.
Yep.
So just feel free to visit and contact me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rosa. I really recommend to anyone watching today to reach out to Rosa, to listen to the podcast, to catch up with HR Hints. I learned a lot today that I'm going to take back. So, Rosa, thanks so much for your time today. I really think it's valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here with you. Thanks.
Perfect.